In this video, we're putting a spotlight on the San Diego and Arizona Eastern exhibit, which is created, maintained, and operated by the San Diego Model Railroad Association. The exhibit is one of the first you encounter when you visit the museum. On your left-hand side, as you walk down the first exhibit hallway, you can walk almost all the way around it through the museum hallways to see it from every angle. It's in HO scale, so 1 inch of the layout represents 87 real-life inches. The name HO scale comes from the fact that it is half the size of O scale. It depicts the historical San Diego and Arizona Eastern Railroad, which ran through Southern California and northern Baja, Mexico. The San Diego Model Railroad Association is the oldest club represented in the museum.
Our club, the San Diego Model Railroad Club, had its origin in a chicken coop out in Bostonia here in East County of San Diego back in the 1940s. It wasn't until 1980 when we actually moved into this current location after the original location in Balboa Park was in the House of Charm. This location became available to both the San Diego Club and to the La Mesa Club, and gave us adequate space to replicate the 50 scale miles of the San Diego and Arizona Eastern rails.
In 1980, the San Diego Model Railroad Club and the La Mesa Model Railroad Club decided to incorporate as an umbrella organization that would oversee both clubs, the San Diego Model Railroad Museum. The construction of the San Diego and Arizona Eastern Model Railroad began in 1981, but certain elements of the exhibit, which you'll learn about later, are even older. In 2009, the club incorporated as a 501c3 and became the San Diego Model Railroad Association. The San Diego and Arizona Eastern exhibit covers 4,500 square feet and depicts Southern California and Mexico on any given day in 1949, during the transition era when both steam and diesel trains would be seen on the rails. The route begins in the west at the San Diego Union train station, traveling south to Tijuana, then recrosses at the border at Campo. It continues to the Carrizo Gorge and down into Imperial County, ending at El Centro. The 44 miles of the route travel through Mexico known as the Tijuana-Tecate line as a part of the operation agreement with the Mexican government. The real-life San Diego and Arizona Railway was built to connect San Diego with other areas of the American Southwest without having to travel to Los Angeles or Riverside. John D. Spreckels chartered the railroad company in 1906, and the first train left San Diego November 30th, 1919. The long construction timeline, numerous delays, and massive cost of $18 million, roughly $277 million today, led engineers and doubters to call the San Diego and Arizona Eastern the Impossible Railroad.
The railway was dubbed the slow, dirty, and aggravating after the initials of S, D, and A.
J.W. Gross Didier, general manager of the real-life San Diego and Arizona Eastern, wrote in 1938 that it was the perfect railroad to model, as it contains a variety of scenery in short track length. It was the final leg of the Transcontinental Railroad to the eastern United States, and it is the association's mission to accurately represent it.
The layout itself is a very accurate description of what actually existed out there and still exists today, although the trains are not running through the SD and A rails any longer.
One of the most recognizable features of the exhibit is the Santa Fe Depot, a train station that still stands today in downtown San Diego. The station was originally built for the 1915 Panama, California Exposition, just like many of the structures in San Diego's Balboa Park. This model shows what the station looked like back in the late 40s and early 50s. It was constructed from the original building blueprints. Another remarkable part of the exhibit is the model of the Goat Canyon Trestle in the Carrizo Gorge, which was built by one man in the late 1940s out of redwood Venetian blinds. Originally, it was displayed in the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway office downtown and was later donated to the San Diego Model Railroad Association. The whole model is 20 feet long and 10 feet wide, and the floor-to-ceiling mountain scenery took 2.5 years to complete. The real trestle, built in 1932, still stands today, 56 miles east of this replica at the museum. There are some other fun spots around the exhibit. If you look closely, you'll find an overturned poultry truck with small white chickens on the loose. And at the eastern end of the route, in El Centro, you can find guests in cars enjoying a drive-in movie. Many club members have deeply personal connections to real-life places depicted in the exhibit. I'm one of them. You see, my dad was a railroad engineer on the Santa Fe for many years, and this was his yard office. I remember when I was about 6 years old, Dad would say, "Tommy, you want to come on down? And I got to go get my paycheck." And so he would go down on Crosby Street here, and we drive in here, and this is where his locker was. This is my dad's 2357. I remember as a kid, he used to take me down and ride around the track on the yard, picking up boxcars on the 2357. And may I say to this building is still there today. If you're lucky, you'll see a colorful graffitied train traversing the exhibit. Jerry Jackson, one of the club's master modelers, has garnered national acclaim for his work of making new plastic trains look weathered by man and the elements.
Well, my work is basically antiquing the model trains. I weather them, make them look like they do on the railroad. I use photographs from a website called railroadpicturesarchives.net. Virtually there's thousands and thousands of pictures that people send in around the country of trains that they photograph. You can tell where a car's been by the amount of rust and weather damage that's on the car. If it's got a lot of weather damage and rust, you can pretty much figure it's been up in the Rust Belt part of the country, and which is the northeastern parts of the country. It's all done with acrylic paints. The craft paint that you see in the store, the cheap craft paint, that's what I buy. It's nothing expensive. I eventually paint them all myself, and when I'm done, they're pretty nice. They run just as well as the store-bought.
If you're interested in joining the San Diego Model Railroad Association, visit the museum during operating hours and talk to the crew.
The skills and the camaraderie and the people that you're going to meet and the experiences you're going to have at the club, you can take all that home with you and enhance what you're doing at home and even decide to start something at home. But I don't think there's any other hobby that I can think of that has the ability to offer all of the different facets: electricity, art, construction, history. So there's so many facets of model railroading that no other hobby has. It's very fulfilling. It's a hobby that is lifelong.
I urge anybody who wants to join, come on down, and you'll have a good time, and you'll learn a lot because these guys know a lot. The next time you visit the San Diego Model Railroad Museum, marvel at the San Diego and Arizona Eastern, especially the impressive gorge, and see what our city looked like as it was 70 years ago. I'm Shotgun Tom Kelly. It's been my pleasure talking about this great layout. Come visit us soon.